Call the roll, please.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Here.
Mrs. Lysy.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Sudar.
Here.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Then we have a motion to adopt the minutes of September 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th, please. So moved. Moved by Mrs. Sudar. Second. Second. By Mrs. DeAngelis. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith. Yes. Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
We do have one revision. It will be item 11, certified personnel, 2013-14.
Thank you. And that is in front of the board?
Yes, it is.
Okay, at this time, do we have a legislative liaison report, Mr. Stepp?
Yes, Madam President. I got sent an email from the Ohio School Board Association, and I think it summarizes where the legislature is right now, so I'm just going to read a few paragraphs from it. This is from a section of the email called "The Legislature is Back." And this is not from the email yet, but while your federal government is currently on shutdown, your state government is back from a 3-month vacation. Your local government continues to meet. You're welcome, America. All right, so the legislature is back. With the return of the General Assembly, now I'm reading from the email, with the return of the General Assembly to the fall session, we anticipate action on a number of educational fronts. One significant issue will be an effort to pass a bill to establish new graduation requirements and high-stakes testing requirements for high school diplomas. The State Board of Education has been holding hearings on this topic and plans to see their recommendations enacted this fall in order to avoid a potential scenario that would require our students to have to take the Ohio graduation test as well as the new assessments based on the Common Core standards. These new requirements might involve up to 10, this is amazing, the new requirements might involve up to 10 end-of-course examinations to replace the Ohio graduation test, as well as offer several various types of endorsements on student diplomas. A placeholder bill, House Bill number 193, has been introduced, and we anticipate that hearings will begin soon. Another area, so there's 3 things I want to cover. Second one, another area where we would expect to see some action relates to the Common Core itself. Common Core, by the way, is the new federal standards that are being implemented across the country for the high school curriculum. And we are implementing them here in Euclid in anticipation of these being enacted into law. So again, second item, another area where we might expect to see some action relates to the Common Core itself. As you are possibly aware, there are some issues emerging with the Common Core with a number of opponents who've challenged it as a federal takeover of local control and have attacked various aspects of the standards, including recommended reading lists. There's a representative named Andy Thompson of Marietta who's introduced a bill that would essentially prohibit the Ohio Department of Education from implementing the Common Core and prohibit the use of its assessments. In addition, the bill would require the State Board of Education to conduct hearings on the Common Core in every Ohio congressional district before going forward. So that's very interesting. And the third thing, which might relate to local elections here, another bill introduced in the last 3 months is House Bill 240, which has 26 co-sponsors. There's only 99 state reps in the state of Ohio, so 26 co-sponsors is significant. And this bill, House Bill 240, would eliminate the special elections in February and August. While similar efforts in the past have failed, the sheer number of sponsors is not a good sign, and there's a similar bill, Senate Bill 35, in the Senate. So those are 3 issues that as the legislature moves through its fall session, we in Euclid should be mindful of, and we will keep you apprised of. And that concludes my report.
I find it interesting that the state is worried about the federal government taking away local control.
But
we haven't had local control in a long time.
But the state also, while they're concerned about the lack of local, while they're concerned about federal overreach into what they consider to be their precious areas, they refuse to fund education at the levels that their Constitution demands. Not that I'm Upset.
Okay, and it continues. Mrs. DeAngelis, you have a student liaison report.
Yes, I do. Just a couple quick reminders. First one is this Friday, there's no school for students, so parents can plan ahead for this weekend. Thursday, October 24th, is the State of the Panther being given by Superintendent Keith Bell. It's going to be held at the high school at 6 o'clock. The calendar says Shoreview, but there's been a location change. It will be at the high school. And then there will be a parade and bonfire to kick off homecoming weekend after the presentation. And then Friday, October 25th, is the Euclid homecoming football game. But then stretching a little bit farther, and just to mark your calendars, parent-teacher conferences are coming up. And the elementary buildings, it's being held on Monday, November 4th. Middle schools is Wednesday, November 6th. And the high school is Thursday, November 7th. And those are very important to attend, and not only to find out what your child's doing in school, but to see how their day is each day. And that's all I have this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any visitor comments relative to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on then to reports and recommendations of the treasurer, Mr. Bassett.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Item number 8 is a resolution to approve financial data as submitted to the Board. I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith? Yes. Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoek?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. And item number 9 is a resolution ranking professional design firms for the second phase of the district's capital improvement project and authorizing district officials to negotiate contract terms with the most qualified professional design firm, which in the resolution has been rated to be Architectural Vision Group after a lengthy process, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second. Second by Mrs. Lysy. Are there any questions or comments?
Just a little context.
Okay, go.
Madam Chair, Mr. Treasurer, members of the board, we had an opportunity, we being a team of cabinet members, along with some other staff, to actually get a chance to see 2 buildings. And the one that AVG was involved with was, I believe, Elyria High School. We were very impressed with what we saw. We had an opportunity to talk to personnel there, get a chance to look at design, really ask some specific questions, and then try to visualize what that might look like in our school district. So we really did have an extensive opportunity to talk to personnel offline about the process, how things are transpiring now, and really, we were really impressed with that. I think the thing that really helped me was the customer service aspect, and I think I've shared some of that with the board. Did a really good job of sharing how that would be beneficial to us. So we feel pretty comfortable that we can begin the first steps of conversation with AVG based off of not only our informal conversation, but also our conversation that we were able to have with looking at the entire picture. So I just want to kind of give the board a little bit of input. And for me, it was especially important because I wasn't involved in the first set of, as we went out and looked at architects the first time out, and being able to see how thorough we were, and Mr. Higley along with his team and the individuals we had, I thought did a really good job. So I just want to say that publicly, that it wasn't one of those kind of things that you just do one time and just kind of car wash through. We did an extensive, had extensive conversations, spent the entire day looking at 2 different buildings, and so we were really pleased with what we saw. So I just wanted to, again, just give the board a little context on what has transpired in the last couple of weeks.
And that's 2 different buildings with 2 different firms.
Yes, that's correct.
Completing
Yes.
those. Okay, are there any other questions or comments at this time? All right, can, and maybe it wouldn't be you, maybe it would be one of the gentlemen from the group who could explain the difference between design build and what we had before, where we had an architectural firm and then we had the separate building contractors and so forth. Can you explain what design build means?
What I'd like for you to do, whoever's going to come up, would just come to the podium, and then you can address the board. We like putting people on the spot, so.
And you can also introduce the members of your team as well.
Good evening. My name is Andres Milters. I'm a principal with Architectural Vision Group. And with me today is my other principal, Syed Abbas, and our educational specialist, Dave Kircher, an ex-superintendent. We're very excited about this project, about being selected for it. And I think the comment that you made about service is very telling. We're not from the Genius School of Design. We're from the Service Design School, meaning that we will work with you hand in glove throughout the whole process and involve you all along every step instead of coming down from on high with a design that you accept or you send us home. But so you will not send us home because we will be working with you the whole time and communicating with you, which we feel is very important. About design build, which you're looking at embarking on now, is a means of delivering a project. Up until now, the school building OSFC has used a model of multiple primes and construction managers. Now this last year, there's been a revision in the state where they now permit a number of project delivery methods. One is still the old tried and true multiple prime with construction manager. Another one is construction manager at risk, which is, and I don't mean to confuse you now, kind of a design build where you select the architect and you select the construction manager, and we work together, and at a certain point we show our drawings to the construction manager and work with them, and they come up with a guaranteed maximum price for the project. That's the second delivery method. Design build is where you actually select a design build team where the architect is part of the contractor's team, and they work together from the very beginning as one team. And the fourth way, I think, is the way that you did it the construction manager way. The fourth way is the way things used to be before all these numerous ways of delivering projects came into existence, and that is a general contractor, where it's basically a design, bid, and build. The architect designs a project, the general contractors bid on it, and the lowest responsible bidder gets accepted as the contractor. So I think you were talking about design build on this project, but maybe you really want to consider the construction manager at risk kind of delivery method. That might be even better for projects, educational projects.
Okay.
So,
well, that's
anyway, we have time to talk about all these things and about the different delivery models, but there are choices now where before there wasn't. You had to use the construction manager with multiple primes, and I think they changed because they just didn't feel that was successful, where there wasn't much responsibility for the construction manager, and sometimes I think they got off scot-free and stuck the architect and owner and the subcontractors with the problems and just kind of waltzed away. But again, that's not all the time. There are good construction managers out there. And
okay, because the question, part of why I'm interested in an alternative to the way that we were able to do it last time, was the number of change orders. And change orders that could be pointed back to engineers' mistakes and I guess architects' mistakes too. I'm not sure who all of them were, but that made some significant errors that eventually cost us time and money. And does the way that you're proposing help us in any way in reducing numbers of change orders, of big change orders like that?
yes, and either the design build or the construction manager at risk I think working together as a team, there's a certain understanding, and there's a guaranteed maximum price that you have to come up with. And that's not to say that there can't be discoveries out in the field. All of a sudden you stick the backhoe in the ground and you find out you got quicksand there. It's not fair to stick the contractor with that kind of cost. So that is a way that I think by working together like that will reduce change orders. But again, going back to the way things were, I think a lot of times that the construction managers didn't really do their job and was just kind of a pass-through. So it's like, who are we going to assign this to, and then how are we going to make this change order read? Is it a design mistake, or is it a contractor's mistake? Because they were not liable for it, so it was kind of a pass-through. And I think that's part of the reason why this was not a successful delivery method, and why Ohio is kind of getting away from it. But again, we all make mistakes. We've made mistakes, and when they've been, we've fessed up to it, and we pay it, and that's none of us is perfect. There's a certain percentage, and there are different change orders. Some change orders are instigated by the owner, where you want something different, better. You have some money that you found, and then we make that change for you. So there's...
I can understand those. I cannot understand some of the other ones that we had to deal with. And so they were, it was a concern. Yeah. And I just would like to not go through that experience again.
We do not want to go through that kind of experience. And so far, we've been very fortunate in our careers that the change orders that we've had have been within what is considered an industry standard.
Right. I understand that.
So,
I'm not expecting you or anyone to be perfect, because no one is, but, fessing up to an error on your part, makes me a little more... I guess that's better.
And I think, I'm sorry, Madam Chair and members of the board, I think one of the things that would help us, and you can just do this, as we put things together, the pros and cons, both sides, being able to have that in a visual format for the board to be able to go through. So when we get to that process, we can do that and be able to make that work. So
certainly, yeah.
Appreciate your comments and all that. And we're going to have time to be able to get into that detail. But I just want to, what I want to try to do is make it really simple for the board to be able to see exactly what both models look like and be able to make an informed decision. And that's really what we're trying to do. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the public's knowledge, because you might have forgotten, when we had our facility study done by the state, the project was broken out into 3 segments, and we started with elementary schools because that was the area of most need. We had our oldest buildings that were very much out of date. If you remember, we talked about Roosevelt being a wood frame building, which we didn't even know. And so we started with elementary. We also, at the time, spelled out that we would be coming back to the public because we need to proceed with getting both the high school and also the middle schools reconfigured, redesigned, rebuilt. If you remember, those of you who have been here for a long time, the high school was built in 1949, and there has been significant change in the needs, both for technology, for space in the building, and so forth. And so we do need to update our high school. And also to remind you that the state will pay 41% as long as the city comes up with its matching 59%. So it's very important that we get information out to the public, and we want to do that as soon as possible so you have time to digest the whole project. We will have public meetings where you will be able to come and put your input in as to what you want in the buildings, as well as what you want to preserve. As we pointed out during our first project when we first started, there are areas of our high school which are near and dear to the community that are not covered by the OFSC, the state of Ohio. And we have items that we want to preserve in some fashion, such as our planetarium, our little theater, the big auditorium, the E-room, and so forth. And we are going to work to see what we can share with our community as well as just with the schools. We have some partners that are interested in sharing some facilities. And so we will be looking at quite an extensive campaign to explain what we're going to do. But the first step is to get a firm in place and then for them to present the board with some information. And I expect that we'll have some community meetings. Do you think we'll make it by the end of this year or beginning of in January?
I'm thinking January, but don't hold me to that.
Okay, or the beginning of the year, so that we can get community input as to what you want out of the high school and how you see the high school and the community fitting together. Also, there's a couple other models that are available that would take into consideration possibly merging in the middle schools as well. So we will be looking at a lot of options, and we hope you will participate and join us in our community meetings in the new year, and then help us support us to get this bond issue passed so that we can get a brand new sparkling high school, which will be, I think, something that we will all be proud of right on 222nd in the government corridor. Okay, at this time, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the reports and recommendations of the superintendent, Mr. Bell.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to the able-bodied hands of my Human Resource Manager, Sue Maroney, who will bring these items for the board's consideration. Mrs. Maroney.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Madam President, members of the board, present item number 10, consider certified staff program, or classified staff program addition for 13-14 school year. It is to approve the addition of one educational assistant at the elementary.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. DeAngelis. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item number 11, consider certified staff for 2013-14. We have a teacher appointment, permanent building substitute appointments, school improvement tutors and hourly tutors, approved classification changes for additional training received by our teachers, approved tenure, approve a leave of absence, approve supplemental contracts, and accept the resignation.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Are there any questions or comments?
I have one item I just want to bring to the board's attention, the tenure recommendation, just so you know, that is the last tenure recommendation that we'll have under using the old format. As you recall, we talked about how that would change. We have an application process that's a little bit more extensive and we think reflects where we want to be with that. And it was a collaboration to be able to put that together. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention that when you look at that, that'll be the last time it'll come. They'll come to for your approval in the current format.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Abstain.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, one abstention.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is consider classified staff for 2013-14. We have resignation, approve appointments, approve reassignments, and approve leaves of absence.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And the last personnel resolution we have is consider the ETA, Euclid Teachers Association Negotiated Agreement 2013 to 2016, and ask for your adoption.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Are there any questions or comments? I'd like to thank you for the detail.
I'll talk a little bit on the informal.
Okay. And also, I would just like to thank our staff and administration who worked together to get this agreement together. There's a lot of hours, I know, on both sides, and we feel that we have something that's good for kids, and we'll be able to keep this going for another 3 years. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Abstain.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, one abstention.
Good. Item 14 is we're asking for, I'll get to it here. Consider the approval and ratification of the final payment of performance of a contract, and we're asking for approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. De Angelis. Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We have some miscellaneous items. Items 15 is to consider the county interdistrict service area contract for 2013-14. I'm asking for approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second. Second. By Mrs. Lysy. Are there any questions or comments?
Just a little context, this is really the agreement with the ESC and our joint agreement to be able to offer services, just so you know.
Thank you. And for the students out there, most of these are routine items, that's why we're going so quickly. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 16 is to consider approval of out-of-district field trips.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. De Angelis. These are for Central Middle School, the trips for each grade, and the Euclid High School Band and Orchestra.
Yeah, so let me just
Forest Park.
right in Forest Park, and you've got 5 there. And just so you know, one of the questions that could come up would be, well, what are kids getting when they're out in October with all of the academic requirements and all that? So one of the things that's happening in Central is they're doing it's a pilot, and so we're going to be able to determine if that's really something that we want to do moving forward. But in the interim, they have stations, and what the kids are going to have to do, the stations are set up to reflect the Common Core standards for science and social studies. And so there's a direct connection with the academic performance in a classroom. The other piece that is significant here that I really like is the fact that our kids in middle school have a hard time writing, don't like to write. And so one of the things that they're going to do is we're going to make them do a lot of writing on this particular field trip. And so they have to journal entry and then do a project when they come back, which is significant because you have to work as a team to be able to put that together. So it's an opportunity for them to be able to get education in a different way. And not only will the students that go, and as I got late this afternoon, more than half of the students are attending the field trip. The students that are back in school will have activities that supplement or correlate directly what those kids will be doing at camp. So there will be no loss in what they will be achieving in the building as opposed to the students that are on the actual field trip. So really looking forward to the residual of that pilot. And the other trips that you see there are some of the trips that are taken, our Washington, D.C. trip and the band trip to Florida, to Disney.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 17 is to consider and proclaim National School Lunch Week and asking for approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. De Angelis. Are there any questions or comments?
Just a little context on that one too. Just did a little research in what we've done before on National School Lunch Week. I really like this. We invite grandparents and to come and have lunch with the children, which I think is really an excellent way of being able to not only promote National School Week, but also get parents in the building, which is something that we really want to do. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a
Is
question?
that in all levels of the district?
Yes.
K, all
Yeah, I know the invitations, Madam Chair and Mrs. Sudar, members of the board. I know that it's happening at the elementary. I can't tell you for sure if it's at the high school. I know Dr. Smiley, because he just walked out. He probably knew I was going to ask him. But I do know it's happening at the elementary.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith. Yes. Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 18 is to consider and proclaim National School Bus Safety Week, and I'm asking for approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. Are there any questions or comments?
One of the things that will occur will be the safety. They do the safety checks. They also do the evacuations and all those kinds of things, and they draw attention to bus safety. So I just wanted to let you know those are some of the activities that will happen with the school bus week.
That's the evacuation drills with the
Yes.
students?
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith. Yes. Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And finally, we want to consider to accept the donation, and we're asking for your approval.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. You want to explain what it is?
Sure. Building for today's business products, what we're doing is, as you've seen, we have redesigned the central office, and so we were able to, as we were going through that process, this company had some extra furniture that they didn't know what they wanted to do with, and so we said, we'll take it. And what we've been able to do is use bits and pieces in not only the central office, but also some of the other classrooms, so we've got some of it in storage. But it was roughly $3,500 worth of furniture that they donated to the school district, simply because we are good partners and they wanted to make sure it went to good use.
I believe today's business products, if somebody can help me, was the old Euclid office supplies? Okay. So right down on 222nd Street. All right, any other questions or comments? We will send them a letter of thank you.
We will thank them 10 times over.
Okay. Once would be enough. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do we have a superintendent's informal?
We do, Madam President, members of the board, just a couple of items, and Mrs. DeAngelis has pointed out that we do have the State of the Panther on October 24th, and again, I'm not going to go through all of it, but just encourage the public to attend, and what we plan on doing is really trying to show the community where we are in the district, not only with the student achievement, but also fiscally, and as well as some of the things that we're doing credibility-wise. So we would encourage the community to come out and find out what's going on in school and have an opportunity to ask us some questions. It's also partnered with, as Mrs. DeAngelis said, with the bonfire and the homecoming activity, so you really get a trifecta when you come out and get an opportunity to hear what we have to say regarding the school district. So we're really excited about that. The other thing I wanted to do was to publicly congratulate Cherie Mason. One of the things that we're doing here in the district is once a month we go to a building to recognize a staff member. So our entire cabinet this afternoon went over to Bluestone. We had a meeting over there, but the entire cabinet, and we personally thanked her. She was a recipient of an award where she was able to, and help me, it was the
Office Max.
Office Max, thank you, Office Max, where they were able to get supplies and all that for the entire school. And so really happy. I wasn't able to be there on the day of the event, and we were out visiting buildings, so we wanted to make sure we shared her the excitement that she brought to that building that day. And so very, very, very proud of her, and just want to publicly congratulate her in Bluestone Elementary for that award. The third thing is I just want to thank, and I know Dave's in the back there, the Youth and Teachers Association. We mentioned the ratification of the agreement tonight. Very, very collaborative process. Got an opportunity to really work through many issues, and again, I think it was a win for both sides. And I believe that we're going to be able to really do some great things moving forward. So I do want to echo what the President has said regarding the working together, the collaboration, the time, and everything that was done, because I think it was truly a team effort. And I do want to thank the association. I want to thank Mr. Saywell back there, and also the other co-president, Susan Withers, for their leadership, but appreciate the time and effort that went into the ratification and really pulling this together. A lot of time, but I think it was well worth it, and I appreciated working with their team. The last informal item is the October 21st work session we're going to eliminate due to the state of the Panther that week, so I wanted the board to be aware that we don't have items, so we're going to have the 24th will be the state of the Panther. We will not have a work session on the 21st of October, so I wanted the board to know that. And Madam Chair, that is my informal.
Thank you. Do we have any communications or petitions?
We do not.
Any old or new business?
We do not.
Okay, is there any board members informal?
I just have one item. I just recently received my Think magazine from Case Western Reserve University. My husband and I are alumni of Case, and they highlighted in the magazine 30 under 30. What it is they are highlighting or spotlighting an outstanding 30 outstanding young alumni from Case Western Reserve University. And one of the spotlight alumni is Carrie Cunningham, who is a 2002 graduate of Euclid High School. She graduated from Case Western Reserve University's dental school and also from the pediatric dental school. And I just wanted to highlight one item that they had mentioned in the magazine. It said, "Today, Cunningham takes pride in serving the community where she grew up. She is the first pediatric dentist at Northeast Ohio Neighborhood Health Services, a community-based healthcare clinic located on Cleveland's east side." And just this past spring, our district inducted her into the Euclid Alumni Achievement Hall of Fame to, again, congratulate her on her outstanding academic efforts and her community efforts. Yes. She is just a heck of a person, and she really brings a lot of pride to our district. And I just wanted to mention that, again, she brings pride to our district and also to her alma mater, Case Western Reserve University. So congratulations to Carrie.
Right.
Thank you. Do we have any other board members informal? No? Okay. Well, I just want to say that we did get off to a good start this school year. It's been a little different for those of you who have not seen any of the articles in the newspaper with all the celebrating that we did when we opened school. And it's nice to know that that excitement is continuing in the buildings. We understand that there were some transportation issues, and they are being taken care of. Any calls are being handled at this time, and we should be in good shape.
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Okay, thank you. And so we hope you enjoy homecoming weekend with us. And at this time, I'll open up for any visitor comments. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved by Mrs. Lysy, second by Mrs. Sudar. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Hoek.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith. Yes. Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mr. Carey's right.
Thank you.